to the former president while the attack was taking place, he reportedly engaged in a screaming match with Trump, who was apparently rooting for the insurrectionists who were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." As Liz Cheney said last week, if Kevin won't cooperate, he should be subpoenaed. Joining me now is Aaron Haynes, editor-at-large for the 19th, Jason Johnson, professor of journalism and politics at Morgan State University, and David Jolly, former Republican congressman from Florida, who's no longer affiliated with the party. But you are a former congressman, David, so I'm going to start with you. The thing that's so crazy is, you know, what Republicans want to prevent is a commission not about some distant thing that happened in Libya, answered my own pop quiz, but something that happened to them. I want to go to, this is 4. I'm going to skip down. Sorry for my producers here. This is Andrew Clyde. This is him comparing the insurrectionists last week to tourists. Take a listen to Andrew Clyde. There he is on January 6th. Here's what he said about the insurrectionists last week.
If you didn't know the TV footage was a video from January the 6th, you would actually think it was a normal tourist visit.
So let's put that picture back up while you talk to us, David. Congress members are trying to suppress something they endured. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, here's what I would suggest that comment by Congressman Clyde reflects. It's that there's a bell curve in Congress, just like any institution, and that bell curve includes integrity, honesty, and intelligence. And Congressman Clyde is on the wrong side of that bell curve, and he displayed that to the world with those statements. I think if you look at this commission that they're talking about establishing, that now Kevin does not want it to go forward, it's because we know that the focus will be on the culpability of Republican behavior, not just Donald Trump's behavior, but Republican behavior going into the events of January 6th. And Joy, I would say the luscious irony in all this is that just as Kevin's handling of the Benghazi Commission, some would argue, derailed his ascension to the speakership when he went on Fox News and said, look, this was all about taking down Hillary Clinton. It wasn't about Benghazi. Just as that derailed his ascension to the speakership when Boehner was retiring, a January 6th commission could derail Kevin's shot at the speakership as well, because it would focus in on what Kevin McCarthy knows about those events. When Liz Cheney says that Kevin McCarthy should testify, it's not just because Liz Cheney wants to get to the truth. Liz Cheney has said that McCarthy won't be speaker, which tells me that Liz Cheney knows that Kevin McCarthy knows something that is so damning it could undo his ascension to the speakership should Kevin McCarthy go under oath before a January 6th commission.
And Jason, all he has to know is other members of Congress, because a lot of them participated as well. Here's Senator Chuck Grassley trying to, they want to obfuscate because they realize how damning this could be for members of the Republican caucus. But here's Chuck Grassley trying to muddy the waters. Take a listen.
I think that they're going to have to broaden the inquiries that they're making in order to get 60 votes.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Would you support it right now, or would you need to see it broadened?
I think I'd prefer it broadened because there's more things wrong in this country than just happened on January the 6th.
Yeah, more things that happen. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene agreeing with Chuck Grassley.
Indeed, we should have a commission to study the violent BLM and Antifa mobs that have plagued American cities this past summer. Also, while it's catch and release for domestic terrorists, Antifa, BLM, the people who breached the Capitol on January 6th are being abused.
So they're going to have to do that during an entire hearing, right, Jason?
Well, yeah, and this is what makes this so insane. I don't know why the Democrats are even bothering to try and make a bipartisan commission at this point. The Republicans know that many of them are potentially complicit, either in not standing up when this was happening or obfuscating people who might have been involved. I keep going back to Nikki Sherrill, who is the congresswoman who said at the very beginning, I'm fairly confident that I saw people giving tours to folks who showed up later as insurrectionists, and the Republican Party doesn't want a real investigation. This is the empire saying, like, all right, you got the Death Star. We don't have to do the whole investigation into Darth Vader. Why do we have to talk about that? But you can't go forward. The country can't go forward unless we have an investigation, because I promise you, whoever was responsible for this and the people in Congress who are responsible for this will try again at some point. I think the Democrats just need to go it alone and forget about getting Republicans involved.
Well, they're not going to have to. I mean, the vote is going to pass tomorrow, Aaron. It's going to happen. This commission is going to pass, and then it's going to occur. And then the people who are going to be spotlighted are going to be a bunch of Republicans who were given the high fists to the insurrectionists.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Joy. And look, you could mistake that footage for a lot of things, maybe Civil War reenactment, maybe Call of Duty footage. But what it was not was, just another group of tourists at the Capitol on January 6th. And so, I think that was what a lot of Americans saw. And to Jason's point, this commission really is for the majority of Americans who saw that as the violent, racist insurrection that it was, attempting to delegitimize Black voters and, and want accountability on this, just as those insurrectionists, many of whom, are facing federal charges and could be going to federal prison for being peaceful tourists that day, according to Congressman Clyde. Republicans in Congress also need to face accountability. And if indeed it was a peaceful day at the Capitol, let that come out in the commission's findings. Why not have them study this? And to your point about, folks on the Republican side who continue to try to create this false equivalency to the overwhelmingly peaceful Black Lives Matter protests that happened last summer. And that was documented as overwhelmingly peaceful, right? That is the other big lie. That some folks are continue to be dug in on, and that they are attempting to perpetuate and connect to this January 6th commission.
For you first, Aaron, and then David Jolly, I wonder if Val Demings might end up on this commission, or should she? I mean, she already participated in the impeachment of Donald Trump. She appears now to be running for United States Senate. You interviewed her about that. Is the other fear that someone like Val Demings might end up on that commission and get to do some questioning of some people like Kevin?
Well, I'm not sure that that's going to happen, Joy, but I did ask Congresswoman Demings about this, being that she was a former impeachment manager. She is a member of law enforcement who is very supportive of those Capitol Police who were, having to defend her and her colleagues on January 6th. And what she said was that she wanted to see a 9/11 style commission that had members who were not in Congress, right? So folks who were not directly involved with this, taking kind of an unbiased, objective approach to studying the events of that day and coming up with a conclusion that really is unimpeachable. And so while she was certainly in favor of that commission, she was saying that she is not somebody that would want to be on it, but wants to see folks who are impartial really weighing in on the events of the day.
But whether or not she's on it, David Jolly, how damaging is it going to be for Republicans, for the nation, to relive through this commission the events of January 6th?
Oh, it's going to be incredibly damaging, because as much as they want to draw some type of parody to Black Lives Matter or to other protests, that simply cannot hold in this event. And it is lunacy for Republicans to suggest it, and we should call them out every step of the way. I accept that there is no parity in the level of violence. We can see that with our own eyes. But even if you suggest that social protest on other issues across the country has involved violence, has involved injury, what happened on January 6th was an attempt to undermine our democracy, to rip away our election, to undo our republic. That is not similar to the other protests that we have seen, to the other violence we have seen. That is not similar, as Kevin McCarthy suggested, to the violence on the baseball field where the shooting occurred of Republican members of Congress. Yes, violence is wrong in all aspects and should be condemned. But the effort going into January 6th, the big lie that Donald Trump led, that Kevin McCarthy amplified, and every other Republican that involved themselves in this, was an attempt to undo our democracy and undermine our republic. If Democrats and the commission, bipartisan or not, are able to focus in on that, it is hard for Republicans to suggest why they should return to power in November 22.
And Jason Johnson, that brings us to 2022, in which this now becomes the story in that election. Your thoughts?
It should be. Every single Democrat needs to nationalize this election as soon as possible. And look, the whole idea of comparing, what happened on January 6th of last summer, it doesn't make any sense one way or another. You saw more arrests at peaceful protests in Louisville after Breonna Taylor was killed than you saw during the insurrection. It's taken like months before the insurrection got to 400 different arrests, not to mention the fact that there's a huge difference between your youth pastor with a Black Lives Matter sign in the middle of a Target parking lot and a bunch of people with guns and weapons beating and abusing police officers to go take over the United States of America. The Democrats, 2022 is theirs to lose. All they have to do is keep the economy functioning, which they may or may not be able to control, make this a national election, and pass voting rights reform. Because the vast majority of Americans are not in favor of an insurrectionist party. They're not in favor of the Handmaid's Tale party. They're not in favor of this insane party. And the Democrats should make that their main issue.
Shots, checks, and democracy. Keep it simple. That is the issue in 2022. Aaron Haynes, Jason Johnson, David Jolly, thank you all very much. And up next on The ReidOut.